In this lesson, we're going to begin testing some of our unexpected results and trying to figure out how to fix those problems. Okay, so we're just continuing on with this pipeline of we'll add some dynamics, we'll keep layering the dynamics, and we'll test them as we go, and as problems arise, we fix them. This workflow is very, very important to dynamics simply because we have so many things playing into this dynamic scene that it would be very hard to build out all the dynamics from beginning to end without testing and then try to go back and fix what the problem is. Okay, so we're just taking this gradually in a very smart workflow. And in the last lesson, what we had the problem with was these two towers in the middle would just explode, and they were blowing out from the top here about where the bricks were touching. Now, one thing that we need to understand about dynamics is that it's just mathematics, okay? And sometimes the mathematics can give us some really unexpected results, and that's something that we just need to keep in the back of our mind whenever we are dealing with multiple objects like this. We took these two boxes and we created about 250 different boxes out of that to create this brick pattern. Now, if you take all of these brick patterns and they're all set to concrete, they all have a certain density and a certain mass. And whenever all of those are together, they add up to a certain weight, and that weight is extremely heavy. Now, what we've built here is we built an object that is cracked and fractured, and it's not ready to withstand that weight. Okay? And so whenever all of these bricks go into the simulation and they start to drop down, even if it's just a small amount, these bricks are just barely above this geometry. And if it's even just that small amount, all of that weight is compounded and multiplied into this, and that's what's causing this explosion. So let's go ahead and take a look at how we can fix this issue. So let's go to our front view. And what I need to do to fix this issue is to make these bricks settle exactly on top of this tower here. So one way that I can do this is to select just the fractured pieces on the top part of these towers here. Okay? And I'm going to set these to static. But before I do that, I'm going to actually create a selection set for these. And I'm going to call this temporary. Okay? And that way I can actually get rid of that selection set as I need to. So these are set to dynamic. Let's go ahead and set them to static. Okay? And once that's finished, we're going to go ahead and actually run our simulation. But before I do that, I actually have my statue pieces on top, and they are actually a little bit above our towers as well. So I want to actually set them to static as well, just for right now. All right? Now let's go ahead and let's not forget about our test ball. Let's go ahead and change it from kinematic to static, just to let these bricks settle on this surface here. Okay? So let's go ahead and simulate this. And once this starts simulating, the bricks are going to settle into place right on top of this tower. So it's going to be exactly on the tower. And I'm going to go ahead and let this run to about 100 frames, and then I'm going to stop it. So just hit play or start simulation one time to stop the simulation. It's going to hold this position, and I'm going to bring out my Mass Effects tools. Now, whenever we hit reset, what's going to happen is these bricks are going to jump back up to that position they first started, and we haven't actually fixed anything. So it's not exactly settled. So we want this position of these bricks to be the reset point. So let's go ahead and select those two brick towers. So let's select brick tower 1 and hit that drop down box again, hold down control and select brick tower 2. Okay. Now with those selected, let's go to our tools, and you'll see this capture transforms. And capture transforms is going to take the transform positions and rotations of any selected object or any selected dynamic and make this current position the reset point. So whenever we play any simulation from here on out, these are going to be resting exactly on top of this surface. So let's hit Capture Selected. And then let's go ahead and reset. Okay, so our ball has been reset and our tower is reset. And what I want to do to test this out is I'm going to go ahead and play it first just to make sure that they sit still. So let's just play this. Okay, and they're resting on that static object. Let's stop it and reset the position, or reset the simulation. And let's go ahead and grab that temporary selection, and we're going to convert those back to dynamic. Okay. Go to temporary, click and hold, and set those to dynamic. Now, we've set these to dynamic, and the reason that it was exploding out is because all of these objects were sleeping. And the bricks had a little bit of space between the tower and the bricks themselves. And any object, no matter if it's in dynamic mode or in sleep mode or not, is going to go ahead and drop down. Okay? And once it's actually dropped and touched something, it's going to wake other things up. So that's why we're getting that explosion. Now that everything is setting right on top of one another exactly, they'll stay in sleep mode until an object has affected them or a rigid body has affected them. So let's hit play or simulate, and let's just test what we have. Okay, so we've started the simulation. The bricks are sitting very nicely. Okay, and everything is still in sleep mode because there's no movement. Okay, even that small bit of movement with all of these objects multiplied would cause a great amount of force. All right, so let's stop that simulation. Let's reset the simulation. And let's take our ball and reset it back to kinematic. We need to wait for the reset to finish. There we go. Let's take our ball and set this to kinematic. Okay, so now let's go ahead and start this simulation again just to test it. Okay, now we can see that our dynamics are working and we have an explosion. Okay. So all those bricks are going to cause a lot of chaos because they're going to basically just pile right on top of the bridge here. Let's hit F4, turn off our wireframe, get a little bit better on our frames per second. You'll see that the bridge begins to crumble. We've got quite a large pile here. A lot of pieces are falling off. Towers are breaking down. Okay, just a lot of destruction going on. All right, so let's go ahead and stop this simulation. And we've got those towers falling exactly the way we want now. Okay. All right, now let's go ahead and reapply our dynamics to our statues. Now we're going to have to do the same thing that we just did to our statues because they are not fitting exactly on top. Okay, they're just a little bit above. So I'm going to select all of these, okay, all of my statues and the shackles. Let's reset those to dynamic. Okay, should keep all of the settings. Let's check our shackles just to make sure that those are still steel, and I can see that right there. All right. Now once this finishes updating here, let's go ahead and start a simulation. And let's just kind of look at which ones are going right off the bat. Okay, well this one and this one, these are crumbling right off the bat simply because of the statues on top. The statue here is basically falling through. We're going to have to take a look at that in another lesson there. Now, these statues on top, they're dropping down, so they're doing the exact same thing that the bricks were doing before. Okay, let's stop this simulation and reset. And what we're going to have to do is go ahead and make the tops of those towers static and rest those on our bricks. And then we're going to have to make the top of the tower sticks in static, and then rest the statue pieces on top of the tops. Okay. So to do this, let's go ahead and go to our front view. And let's select just these here. And you know what? Let's actually go to our temporary selection. And I'm going to open up my selection sets. I'm going to select temporary and delete that. And then I'm going to select just a row of bricks here. And I'm going to make this a temporary selection. All right. Let's set these to static. Let's take the feet statues here, and let's just pull these up in the Y for right now. And I'm going to make them static again. Okay. And let's go ahead and make sure that the tops are dynamic. Okay. Let's hit P on our keyboard. And I'm going to make sure that the ball is static as well. I don't want it to cause any dynamic reactions. Alright, now let's go ahead and simulate this. And what we should see are the tops of our towers resting right on our brick towers here. Okay. Let's let that run to about 100. And I'll stop that simulation. Go to my front view, hit Z on the keyboard just to zoom out so I can see everything. Let's select the tops of the towers. Okay. And let's keep those as dynamic. But what we want to do is go to our tools and then capture transforms for those selected. Right? Let's go to our creation selection set. Let's grab our temporary. And let's change those back to dynamic. Okay. Now, hit P on the keyboard, go to perspective, and let's go ahead and play this just to check. We've set the brick back to, well, let's reset. Let's do that. We've set our brick to dynamic. And we've set the tops of the towers to dynamic as well. And what we should have are our towers sitting perfectly still. All right, so let's play this simulation. Okay. Everything's working perfectly. Everything is sitting still. And I know that whenever I set the ball back to kinematic, that this will work properly. Okay. All right, so in our next lesson, we're going to go ahead and add in the dynamics of the statues to get them to sit right on top of the towers whenever we first start a simulation. So everything should be holding still until that test ball actually hits something on the bridge. Okay, so I'll see you in the next lesson.